In Pripyat Hospital, a hospital in Ukraine, Ludmila Ignatenko could barely recognize her husband. He was bloated, his eyes swallowed by flesh. Her husband, Vasily Ignatenko, was one of the firefighters who responded to the explosion of the nuclear plant in Chernobyl. He worked around the ejected nuclear materials, inhaled irradiated gases, and without proper protective equipment, he soon experienced the syndrome of acute radiation syndrome. He was sent to Pripyat Hospital and died 2 weeks later. The disaster didn't end there. 2 months later, Ludmila gave birth to her daughter. The infant only lived for 4 hours before she died from congenital heart defects and cirrhosis of the liver. The worst part is that Ludmila isn't alone. Thousands of children born during the Chernobyl disaster have suffered from birth defects. During the Chernobyl disaster, about 10 times the radiation released after the Fukushima accident was released. Radiation is a well-known teratogen, which means an environmental factor that could cause birth defects. For example, liver disease has been shown to be linked to radiation by causing DNA damage and inflammation. Therefore, it was speculated that Ludmila's daughter was exposed to excess radiation from her father when her mother was visiting. Birth defects could also be induced by certain genetic changes caused by radiation. One of them is trisomy 21. Trisomy 21 is caused by the incomplete separation of chromosomes in the process called meiosis when generating germ cells. In fact, there is a significant increase in trisomy 21 children during the period of the Chernobyl disaster. There is increase even in places as far as Germany. Genetic changes could also happen on a smaller level. Remaining radioactive iodine after the explosion could accumulate in the thyroid and cause mutations in them. Mutations in MAPK and PI3K-AKT pathway could possibly cause thyroid cancer. Residents near Chernobyl could develop thyroid cancer, and some infants may be born with congenital thyroid carcinoma. The last cause of birth defect is multifactorial, which means many different mechanisms could result in the defect. An example is microcephaly, where a baby's head is much smaller than expected, as in the graph. It is caused by disruption during brain development. Many factors could lead to microcephaly, including mutated genes, drugs, malnutrition, and also radiation. In this video, we talked about how radiation could lead to birth defects. We can see that many children and families are severely impacted by the accident. We should all learn from this accident, thoroughly learn the impact of the technology before we use new technologies.